I worked with fuel consumption ratings data sets published by Natural Resources Canada on Canada's federal open data website. The data provides fuel consumption ratings and estimated carbon dioxide emissions for non-electric vehicles or EVs, although there are also data sets that cover EVs separately. I chose this data set to see how fuel efficiency and CO2 ratings have changed since 2000. With increasingly stringent international standards such as the USA's CAFE and the EU's NEDC standards, I expected that fuel efficiency and CO2 ratings would improve over the 2000 to 2020 period. I focused on non-electric vehicles because since while EVs are fantastic when it comes to fuel efficiency and CO2 ratings, their Canadian market share is minuscule. Now for the data visualization. I took the mean values of combined fuel consumption, which reflects 55% city and 45% highway driving, and CO2 emissions for each year of vehicle models. Note that scales for both do not start at zero. Another caveat is that testing procedures were changed in 2015 to a procedure that is supposed to be more representative. Ratings for prior years were adjusted by the publishing agency to compensate for those changes, but the accuracy of those adjustments is open to question. With those caveats out of the way, onto the data. There's a noticeable correlation between changes in fuel efficiency and CO2 emissions. They have followed the same trends over the years. From a peak in 2002, they trended downwards until 2014. From there, they have risen again till they are not that far from their values in 2000. While the earlier data is supposed to have been recalibrated to compensate for the changes in testing procedures in 2015, the changes in fuel efficiency and CO2 emissions from 2014 to 2015 is substantially greater than any other year. Since then, they have remained relatively stable. If you examine the testing period separately, from 2000 to 2014, there was a 10.7% improvement in fuel efficiency and a 14.4% reduction in CO2 emissions. Meanwhile, from 2015 to 2020, CO2 emissions have increased by 2%, but fuel efficiency has changed even less. The recent trend within the past 5 years suggests that fuel efficiency and CO2 emissions are becoming increasingly difficult to improve for non-EVs and perhaps have reached a plateau. If the trend continues, then EVs will become increasingly important to meet international standards. Thank you for listening. Please post any questions to Padlet.